Hi, welcome to AWS reInvent session ENT212. If your organization is currently undergoing a digital transformation or an enterprise transformation, or if you're considering one, or if you're helping another large enterprise go through transformation, then this session will bring a lot of value for you. My name's Ryan Seaman. I'm the worldwide head of the AWS Enterprise Transformation Program here at AWS. I've been with AWS for just over 7 years and have spent all of my time working with large enterprises in the Fortune 500 that are going through enterprise transformations. Joining us later will be Zara Syed-Sarwat. Zara runs the AWS Transformation Guide. It's more of a self-paced approach to transformation, and she'll talk to you about that later today. And then finally, we're going to end the session with Doug Jenkins. Doug is the CIO at EBSCO Information Services, and they're currently going through a transformation. Doug's going to share his firsthand experience and how that partnership is working with AWS. What we'll cover today is a few key topics. One, why is enterprise transformation such a hot topic? Why are so many places talking about transformation right now? Next, we're going to talk about why customers are doing this with AWS and how AWS is helping them transform. Next, I'll spend some time talking to you about the AWS Enterprise Transformation Program itself, what it's designed to do, and how it's designed to execute. After that, Zara will cover off on how the AWS Transformation Guide can work with you to develop your tailored approach and custom strategy to your transformation. And then lastly, we'll end with that fireside chat between Doug and Zara, where we hear more from our customer about the transformation journey. So why are so many customers trying to transform right now? And how come you hear the words enterprise transformation everywhere? The reality is there's lots of reasons for it, but we hit a few of them right here. First is shifting in consumer behavior. The behavior of our consumers has changed greatly, driven by digital capability. Next, we look at the disruptive competition that's occurring within the organizations, within the verticals, within the industries, within every region around the globe. Technology has created a change in the way that disruptive competition can enter the market. Next, we hit on the environmental and social responsibility we're seeing from almost large enterprises, where they're trying to do their best to be better for the world and their communities going forward. And then lastly, we hit on the shifting regulations and how fast those changes are coming. So if we start on the consumer behavior bit, the reality is that today the way we consume is very different than the years before. Do you remember the days when we used to get books from the library and on paper? And now we get them on our mobile devices, our tablets, and our Kindles. The reality is technology is disrupting consumer behavior, and consumers expect new technology capability and services from their enterprise providers on a very regular basis. What we release today, our customers are somewhat dissatisfied 6 months from now. And so the reality is if we're not creating that next consumer impact, somebody out there is thinking about how they can do it themselves. For disruptive competition, the barrier to entry in most markets has lowered. Even when you look at things like healthcare and financial services, which have been traditionally expensive to get into, today startup companies get into them quickly. You no longer need to procure office space. You don't need to buy a data center. You don't need to procure compute or storage or networking. You can simply get a group of people that can be remotely based, that come up with a great idea and can start to build overnight. That disruptive competition is starting to eat away at the enterprise landscape customer base on a pretty quick basis, driving enterprises to move in that direction more quickly. When you think about environmental and social responsibility, whether it's going green, reducing your carbon footprint, or creating a more diverse workforce, or creating more cultures of inclusion, all of our organizations and enterprises are trying to become more socially aware and trying to be more reflective of the communities that we serve. This disruption caused by this need to do better about everything around us is helping enterprises really prioritize transformation. And last is shifting regulations. We used to predict regulations, create policies, and publish policies years before they would go into effect. The reality is those days have come and gone. The governing boards, both regionally, nationally, as well as globally, no longer have years to wait for new policies to be put in place. Those policies need to go into effect almost immediately, and they're starting to hit us almost overnight. So when you think about all of these changes coming together, that's really driving the space of enterprise transformation. I think the S&P numbers really tell the story the greatest. The reality is there's multiple levers that are forcing us to change. But if change isn't happening, it is going to happen. If it's not coming from you directly, somebody else will bring it forward. The average S&P company used to be in the market for 61 years back in 1958, an established landscape of customers that were loyal to the customer product, a very stable product base from an enterprise that didn't change too much or too fast. Today, the average S&P company lifespan is 15 years. Just 15 years are they staying in the S&P 500. And the reality is most of that change is actually being driven by digital technology. So if change is needing to happen, and there's lots of good reasons to change, how come more enterprises aren't changing quickly? And the reality is there's lots of challenges for enterprises to transform. If you start in the beginning, you think about how much of your workforce today is focused on maintenance versus innovation. Enterprises have a much larger landscape with many more assets, with a much larger existing customer base that they have to think about managing and keeping secure, compliant, safe, and happy on their products, while they're also thinking about the future of a digital world. And so this idea of maintenance versus innovate really traps a lot of enterprises. Many analysts say more than 80% of an existing workforce within a large enterprise IT organization is focused on keeping the lights on. Next, we look at your technical debt, which also impacts that 80%. Large enterprises have been around for a long time. Hundreds and thousands of servers, thousands of applications, multiple data centers in multiple regions in multiple countries. All of these things come together to create this technology debt that's hard to overcome. You've got data center leases, you've got ITO contracts, you've got licensing commitments that you've made, and how you manage through all of that world all at one time is very difficult. So overcoming technical debt is often a trap. Next, we look at the skills gap. Most enterprises say this is the most difficult part of the transformation. The existing workforce often has the skills of yesterday, not necessarily the skills of tomorrow. So how do you up-level the skills and capabilities of your large thousands of worker footprint across IT and the business, while also moving forward at a fast pace? Addressing your skills gap and understanding where to hire, where to partner, and where to develop your own people is a critical part of the process. Finally, we look at the constantly reacting change that is occurring within the IT organization. If you think about that IT organization and the way that the organization has worked historically, it's really been about driving efficiency across the enterprise. And then most recently, driving efficiency across IT itself. But today's business executives, whether it's your CEO, your CFO, your COO, or line of business presidents, simply being efficient isn't enough. IT organizations have to react and respond to the need to develop new digital products. The line of business wants new capabilities. AI and ML solutions are often at the top of the list. Mobility, customer connectivity, understanding large data insights. All of these things are needed by the business to understand which products they should build, which ones we should build first, and how fast everyone should move. And they've not lost the line of sight of driving efficiency and reducing the cost of IT. So they want everything that's new, and they also want IT to be less expensive, a lot faster, and more reliable. And that leads into the biggest of changes, the operating models. Used to be that IT worked in one building and the business worked in another, and never the two shall meet. But today, those worlds are coming together faster and faster and faster. The customer to the business to IT is no longer a linear transition. It's actually a circle and everybody's working together. So helping organizations understand how to establish new operating models alongside existing operating models are some of the top challenges that enterprises must overcome, and they must do it in a short amount of time. The good news is we have lots of customers that are working with AWS and being successful. Capital One is a great example. They've reimagined digital banking while they were also improving fraud protection through machine learning. while they were also reducing their energy footprint by saving 10 megawatts of power by getting out of all of their data centers. Cerner is another great example. Cerner's moved from an EHR-centric company to a digital platform company, improving clinical intelligence through predictive analytics, using again some AI and ML technologies on top of AWS. We've used learnings from companies like Capital One, Cerner, GE, News Corp, and others to build our strategy for the Enterprise Transformation Program. That program was first leveraged by Nationwide Insurance. Nationwide, over the course of just a couple of years, moved the majority of their estate to the AWS cloud while saving over 30% on their actual TCO and run rate costs. But they didn't stop there. They've also created new products for their customers, things like usage-based insurance that allows you to pay for the insurance you use instead of the insurance you sign up for. And most recently, they're offering Coverage Assistant. Coverage Assistant is a program that uses predictive modeling based on Nationwide's historical data to help small and medium businesses get the insurance they need that meets a business like theirs, as opposed to insurance they would just sign up for hoping they pick the right sets of plans. To achieve these goals, the Enterprise Transformation Program helps customers create capabilities within their business. To achieve your business goals and be a more modern digital business, there's a few things we really focus on inside of the program. The first is the ability to attract, grow, build, and develop new talent. Creating a workforce that's reflective of what you need in the future, not necessarily living with what you have today. The Enterprise Transformation Program works with partners as well as AWS Professional Services and others to understand and build a strategy that helps you create this talent layer. Next, we focus on possessing data insights. Every organization needs to create the ability in the middle to have really strong data insights so they can get to the data they need to, legacying all the historical you've built over 50 or 100 years, and start to leverage that data to understand more about the future and to understand how to drive a strategy faster. Continuous innovation is probably one of the top things we hear from all enterprises. Creating this new ability to continually create product that's not just product you're putting on a shelf, but it's product that your customers really, really want. Product your customers are asking for and sometimes not asking for that you're able to intuitively tell they need. This ability to create continuous innovation within your organization is greatly empowered through the program by leveraging Amazon's own approaches. We bring to the table our own mechanisms and our own approaches on how we build customer-centric product quickly and how we get that product and make sure the product is hitting the mark and that we're continuing to listen to the customer. We train your organization on how to execute through those models and mechanisms and then scale and replicate that capability through your organization. Next comes disrupting the market. Once you have the right capabilities in your organizations, it's easy for modern digital businesses to focus on where to go disrupt. Leverage the key capabilities you've created to go disrupt a new market, or even better yet, disrupt your own market. Understanding how you can be the first one to bring the new thing to your customer. So your customers are always looking for you to bring them the next solution, and they're not out exploring other opportunities to get new things in a similar product line. And then lastly, the program ensures that all customers are secure. We work with our customers through best practices to build secure, compliant, and operationally reliant environments so that the organization can safely work inside of the cloud. This allows customers to focus on their customer, focus on innovating, and not overly focus on the controls. We create the capability within your core teams inside of your organization so that they're keeping a close eye on the control frameworks and they're keeping a close eye on your security so that your product teams can do that, which is just develop product. To do this, we use a capability model approach. We start with the business. We start with business and market insights, and we start with the customer and data insights to understand what are the targets of your transformation. By starting with the business and the business outcomes you want to achieve and understanding those insights, we actually bring those together into your organizational digital transformation strategy. This is a strategy that's now driven about business outcomes instead of transformation for transformation's sake. By focus on the business outcomes inside of your actual core strategy, we can develop a strategy that delivers the results much faster, creates execution and output for your business partners to keep them excited and invigorated about going through the journey. Next, we focus on a value-led operating model. Understanding that not all assets within your enterprise, especially within your IT organization, produce the same amount of value for your organization. Through the value-led operating model, we actually use a prioritization mechanism and approach to actually assess and understand which parts of your portfolio are most important to reinvent today, and which parts of your portfolio we should migrate and modernize to create sustainability, as well as which parts of your portfolio to simply migrate, help you modernize, reduce the cost to help you get out of your data centers. By using this value operating model approach, we can actually build a strategy that's specific to you, delivering your needs over a very quick period of time. And so using this prioritization mechanism allows us to flow into the operating capabilities. And that is operating the innovation workloads like innovation workloads, investing in them quickly, producing features, producing customer value fast. Modernizing your core platforms, taking things like your ERP platforms, reducing their cost, improving their reliability, but also making them accessible to your high-end portfolio. Ensuring they're API enabled so that you can work across your product tier into your core assets very quickly. And then lastly, the migration and modernization bit to simplify IT and make the world work easier. All of that then is supported by a core platform, a set of platform services that can be operated across different layers of your portfolio, but creates that robust, reliable environment that allows you to operate in the future. To execute the program, we start with really strong C-suite buy-in. We start with your business objectives that are coming from the CEO, the COO, or line of business presidents that help drive what are the goals of the actual business. Next, we look at where you are in your journey. So we'll do a customer assessment in a very short period of time and compare it to our best practices and what we've learned from others. None of our enterprise customers are starting from scratch. They're not starting on day one. They've all started to do work in different places for different outcomes. How we bring those together is by understanding where you are in your journey today and building a strategy and plan that allows us to execute those going forward. Once we get through those first two stages, we create a tailored plan that's designed for you and your business outcomes to execute over the three core phases of the program. Those being prioritization, activation, and transformation at scale. In prioritization, what we'll do is we'll take those key business outcomes that are coming down from your C-suite and we'll reattach your IT strategy so that the objectives of the IT strategy and the transformation are those same business goals. And we're not attaching the IT strategy to IT outcomes only that may be a little disconnected from where the business needs to be. In activation, we're going to run water through the pipes. We're going to take the capabilities you have today and we're going to do things like build new products. We're going to create enterprise data lakes. We're actually going to run migration and modernization. We're going to develop strategies around your core assets. But the most important thing is we're going to get hands on keyboards and deliver tangible outcomes. Things your business partners can actually grab a hold of and get excited about. By doing this, the biggest thing we do is reduce the number of assumptions we have to make about your transformation journey. By running water through the pipes, we can understand where we need to invest the most or the least amount of effort to be successful. And that allows us to build your transformation at scale plan. That at scale plan is executed by bringing lots of workforce, focusing on the key problems and not the problems we think are the key problems. We do this together across AWS and partners with customers. It will take all of us to achieve this journey together for a large enterprise. So partners like Accenture, Deloitte, Capgemini, Cognizant, Wipro, TCS, Infosys, Slalom, and PwC have partnered with Enterprise Transformation Program so that we can execute this strategy jointly between AWS, your preferred GSI partners, as well as your customer landscape. All of this is done in a teach-to-fish fashion, with the goal being we're creating capabilities within your organization so at the end of this program in 15 to 18 months, your organization has the ability to continue spinning the flywheels, whether it's around data and insights, AI ML capability, new product-oriented teams leveraging Amazon's mechanisms, or modernization of core assets. The capabilities can be replicated in different parts of your business where you can continue pushing your business forward and reinventing the next customer experience. Next up, Zara is going to come on stage and talk about the AWS Transformation Guide. Zara is using the same best practices and learnings we've had from customers, but instead of such an aggressive top-down strategy, the approach with AWS Transformation Guide allows you to choose your own journey. It allows you to move at the pace you want to move at, and maybe not a breakneck pace. It also allows you to focus on different pieces of your transformation and not all of them at once. So up next is Zara, and Zara will help you understand how the ATG program can help you build your own custom strategy.
Hi everyone, my name is Zara Sayeda Sarwat, and I'm the worldwide leader for AWS Transformation Guide. I've been with AWS for almost 5 years now, focusing on helping customers drive transformation and integrate technology across all areas of the business. In addition to my role, I'm also the founder and president for Women at AWS, an affinity group sponsored by our executive team, focused on driving gender diversity across technology. The question is no longer why transform, but how fast we can transform. And at AWS, our customers continue to ask us these 5 questions. Getting started is the hardest part. How can we jumpstart transformation? How can we understand what is slowing us down, and how can we effectively remove these blockers? How can we bridge the gap between technology and business and convert technology into a profit center from a cost center? How can we change hearts and minds and drive the desired behavior and accelerate culture change? How can we start delivering results early in the transformation cycle and expand buy-in across the business? As Ryan explained, we have 2 programs that help customers in these areas. The Enterprise Transformation Program is a fast-paced, intense program where our AWS teams very rapidly move customers through transformation across all domains. The AWS Transformation Guide program is where AWS account teams identify and prioritize key transformation domains and build a transformation roadmap that enables you to move at a pace that best suits your organizational needs. With AWS Transformation Guide, customers can convert their vision into an execution plan quickly. They can avoid analysis paralysis, jumpstart transformation, and start delivering outcomes that will help them gain momentum and buy-in across the organization. They can reduce execution waste, take a lean approach, and ensure resources are focused on the right prioritized areas. They avoid blind spots by taking advantage of best practices, lessons learned that are captured across hundreds of transformation engagements all across AWS. And customers are able to transform iteratively at a pace that best suits their needs. The AWS Transformation Guide is our overarching framework that we leverage to help enterprise customers formulate and execute a 3-phased holistic transformation journey across 3 primary business drivers: innovation, insights, and modernization. The innovation track focuses on helping customers accelerate their pace of innovation, deliver compelling new offerings, reduce time to market for new products. The insight track focuses on helping customers become a data-driven enterprise, gain new customer insights at scale, increase organizational efficiency leveraging data. And the migrate and modernize track focuses on helping customers reduce technical debt, reduce cost, and increase operational efficiency and agility. Underpinning each of these business drivers are business and technology capabilities that encompass key best practices, mitigate execution risk, and enables an iterative approach. Under the business capability, we focus on helping customers with 3 key areas. The first is business and technology alignment. We work backwards from business goals and leverage a value-driven approach that informs the technology strategy. Under people and operating model transformation, we focus on 3 key areas, which is helping customers drive change management and culture change, transforming into a product-centric operating model, and the third is building and sustaining skills for the future. Under the governance area, we help customers establish foundations for success and scale, including account management, cost optimization, and finance transformation. And then on the technology capability side, the focus is on 3 areas. The first is security, which is job zero for AWS. In this area, we focus on helping customers implement your organization's optimal security posture with key focus on prevention, detection, response, and remediation. The second is operations, where we focus on helping customers integrate as you initially run 2 environments, which includes your legacy environment and your cloud environment, and ensure that you're set up for success across support, monitoring, backup, breakfast, and that all of these things and operation processes are seamlessly integrated. And then the third one is the platform, where we help customers establish an agile, pay-as-you-go, scalable platforms that enables business outcomes. We have developed a guided journey map for each of these areas and have organized transformation activities, prescribing what customers need to do, how they can do it leveraging the AWS programs and offerings, all sequenced across 3 journey phases depicting when to do what. This approach has made it super simple for customers to understand and view exactly what their journeys look like and areas of focus. In the first phase, called launch, we focus on helping customers build foundational capabilities across key business drivers, start delivering outcomes early in the transformation journey. In the advanced phase, we help customers take the learnings and scale them across their line of businesses and adopt AWS technology iteratively. And in phase 3, we help customers how to execute what has been learned and experimented with in the earlier phases, faster, at scale, and with agility. This approach ensures that we start delivering outcomes earlier in phase 1 and then iteratively grow and expand outcomes and influence throughout the organization. To deliver the AWS Transformation Guide to customers, our account teams follow 5 steps. The account team will partner with you to complete the ATG assessment. This assessment identifies maturity benchmarks, key risk areas, and builds out a prescriptive guided journey map called ROPE, Roadmap on a Page. The roadmap on a page lists out key activities relevant AWS programs that help you execute those activities, all sequenced across the 3 journey phases. And this is done for each transformation domain, including innovation, insights, modernize and migrate, and the business and technology capability, giving you a full view on what you need to do across each area, how you can do it leveraging AWS programs, and when you need to do what, as it's all sequenced throughout the journey phases. We execute leveraging our professional services and partners that enable us to deliver globally. And then we conduct quarterly sessions with you to continuously track progress, measure business value, and ensure that transformation continues to deliver the outcomes that you had intended. We at AWS have a bird's-eye view across hundreds of transformations happening across the globe, and we have captured key best practices, prescriptive steps, and guidance in this framework and approach. This helps our customers move quickly and avoid lag time trying to figure out what to do, how to do it, and when to do it. And now I would like to introduce Doug Jenkins. Doug is Executive VP and Chief Information Officer at EBSCO Information Services. In this role, Doug is responsible for all technology strategy and management, including software and platform product development, information service delivery, privacy and security, architecture, and enterprise systems. Doug is also responsible for leading EBSCO Information Services, digital transformation strategy, and execution. He is responsible for driving integration of technology across the business and transform EBSCO into a modern, digitally enabled enterprise with a focus on innovation, data strategy, and platform modernization. Doug has led several product development transformations across multiple product suites, including EBSCO Host, EBSCO Discovery Services, Folio, and Dynamed. He is a change management champion who drove organizational adoption of lean and agile methodology across the EBSCO Information Services enterprise. Doug has a Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering from Rutgers University and a Master in Manufacturing and Engineering from Boston University. Doug has been in technology industry for over 30 years and has held numerous engineering and executive roles throughout his career. Doug, welcome. Incredible to have you join us.
Thank you, Zara. Thanks for the opportunity.
Doug, tell me about EBSCO's business. What has been the business historically, and what is the company's vision for the future?
So EBSCO Industries was founded in 1944 by Elton B. Stevens, and hence its name, EBSCO Industries. Elton B. Stevens it was essentially a startup back then. It's now grown and grown over 77 years of existence to include about a dozen subsidiaries. It remains family owned and it remains privately held. The company has grown to the point where it's well within the Forbes 200 largest privately held companies in the US. EBSCO Information Services, of which I'm representing, is a $2.2 billion subsidiary of EBSCO Industries, and it too was started, has its roots to a startup by Tim Collins, and Tim today continues to be our president and CEO. He formed his startup in 1984. EBSCO Information Services operates worldwide. We have approximately 3,200 employees. Just to give a little more color on EBSCO Information Services, our mission is to transform lives by providing relevant and reliable information where and when and how people need it, which is critically important today. And we pursue this and advance our mission in the education space, which many of our listeners and viewers may be familiar with EBSCO Host, in the library services area as well, where we are the leading aggregator and provider, rather, of books and journals. And we're also, a significant player in advancing fully open source. We also play in the healthcare, physician, and nursing point of care markets with products like Dynamed, Dynamic Health, and NRC. Looking ahead, we see our markets just probably like most markets in the world, rapidly restructuring. The need for change is evident. We have to be able to move fast. We've grown this company for 77 years. We want to see it continue. So that's kind of the overall context of EBSCO Industries and EBSCO Information Services placed within it.
Thank you, Doug. Business and technology alignment is critical to driving successful transformation. What were the top IT objectives that you established? How did you communicate them and drive them across the organization to truly bridge that gap?
So there was as I mentioned, there was rapid growth, certainly over 2 decades of EBSCO Information Services. We've grown so rapidly, the amount of content that we were delivering and processing, the number of customers, the number of products and markets. This all combined into kind of a non-linear explosion of complexity. And we were unable after a while to really be able to manage it, to get the predictability that we needed to be able to serve our customers well. So there was a real call to action. What we had done to grow the business in the past wasn't going to work in the future. That was clear. And so we started with a cultural change. We embraced, as you mentioned in the intro, lean practices. We grew that into full-on Agile and then Enterprise Agile and selected the Scaled Agile framework. That really changes the conversation. It really unites the business around business goals, of which technology is a key part, but so it really brings together, unifies backlogs, unifies visions and such. So we were able to roll that out many years ago at this point. We shifted from project-oriented teams to persistent, stable teams that have ownership, which is, as we know, a fundamental shift for the better. And as an organization, we're shifting from a sales-driven enterprise to a sales and market-driven organization, and we've introduced the pragmatic marketing framework as part of our way of working backwards from customers. We increasingly operate globally from domestically. We had, as I mentioned, an organizational structure that reflected a different approach than lean and agile, and so we flattened out the organization as part of our cultural change. And, we've really acknowledged that culture, though important, we also need to be, really advancing in the technology front. And that's where we knew we wanted to get to the cloud. And we knew we needed to have an internal champion to be able to partner with us and the company and the technology teams. And we found that in our EVP of clinical decisions, Betsy Jones. So Betsy is a risk-tolerant leader, great visionary, and that part of our business is a little bit smaller than some of the other parts. However, high growth and high potential. So it was a perfect starting point for us. We had KPIs around speed and quality and cost and user engagement metrics. So we kept building on this success. We were able to release a first product in clinical decisions and use that as our internal measure of success and our internal track record, if you will. So as we went for further expansion of our transformation into the cloud, we have a company-specific reference point, not through articles and case studies, and that proved enormously valuable. And the result is we're about 10 times deployment frequency compared to what we had in clinical decisions. Our quality is dramatically different, and we're able to recover quickly. And cost per feature, we have safes who are measuring a lot of this stuff. Our cost per feature in our clinical decisions dropped 25% by working in AWS. That gives a feel for the productivity gains that are available to our teams through it. So fantastic early successes. And we were able to now use that as a jumping point for an internal track record to move beyond that. That's the broad arc that we've been following, but ATG in this was critical. We were well on our way with migration and certainly knew quite a bit about that and 7Rs and so forth. About a year and a half ago, we engaged with a formal ATG assessment because we thought we were in pretty good shape, and the migration, the innovation, data strategy portions that drive business value in the ATG framework. As expected, I think our migration efforts scored pretty well. But the really good part about the ATG is it's data driven, and it allows us to see the different dimensions that are important. And this is leveraging AWS's experience throughout the world and their customer base. So we have very good data around it. We were able to then get a very good radar chart kind of assessment of where we're strong and where we needed to improve. So an excellent playbook that matches our areas for improvement to Amazon's capabilities and AWS's capabilities. So that's a pretty prescriptive playbook, which we're acting on. Like I said, even in the migration area, we certainly have some things to shore up. But in the other key areas of innovation and data strategy, those are areas where as we transition to be much more adapting and sensing what's going on in quickly changing markets, we need to be really great at innovation, and we need to be great at data and being a data-driven enterprise. So these are areas that still are on our agenda now as we continue to mature. We also benefited from ATG and AWS professional services in the formation of our cloud enablement organization. So this is a single-threaded leader. As we scaled and we had success with clinical decisions, we realized the approaches we used organizationally for that weren't going to be the right approaches to scale when we take on the whole rest of EBSCO Information Services. So the cloud enablement organization we stood up, and it was informed heavily by Amazon and ATG in that area. For the innovation side, we've benefited from many Amazon practices about working backwards, writing workshops. It's pretty fun to be partnered up with such an innovative and kind of leading company such as Amazon. We've been able to learn and benefit from some of those approaches, and obviously not adopt them directly. It has to fit the culture and everything else. But we've gone through a lot of workshops, and then we're adapting and adjusting these practices and mechanisms that work so well for Amazon to what we're doing. So it's been an awesome partnership, and that also applies to the data-driven workshops that we've done. The data-driven everything, we have quite a way to go. There's a lot to learn and to adapt to. So it's been a really powerful partnership, I would say, that's helped our overall transformation beyond just migrations now into full-on business transformation from enterprise transformation.
That's so incredible. Thanks for sharing that, Doug. What were some of the learnings that you gathered along the way? Perhaps things you wish you would have done differently, or things you wish you knew then that you know now?
So, well, there's a lot of things that are good that reinforced, I think, some of our approaches. I think getting the culture right before we take on the technical transformation, I think, is the right thing, because the technology is a reflection of the culture and organizational structures that produced it. So addressing that first, I think, was the right thing. We also had a significant emphasis on security as we moved from legacy systems into the cloud. And there, as we went through the HEG assessment, I think we scored out pretty well, but certainly there were some areas that we needed to improve on. So we did that. Governance was a huge thing. And as we scaled, I would say paying more attention to governance, and especially FinOps-oriented governance, would be something that would be a lesson learned, in that, we're managing it now, but we want to be and remain ahead of the curve on that as we move from a central CapEx-oriented way of running our organization to now a distributed, everyone essentially has a credit card, if you will. We need to be really good at doing the financial governance. So that's just one of the forms of governance. People and cultural change, I mentioned, was another area, and the cloud-enabled organization was huge there. Data strategy, we're still working along, and the migrations. It's been great to see Amazon Web Services offer. When we MAP2, when we had started, we had embraced the migration acceleration program that's available at the time. It required a larger upfront commitment and such, and the MAP2, I think, better reflects the kind of slipstream migration of different workloads without having to know and have some large commitment up front. So that's really worked well for us. So I would say those are basically the areas that, that are lessons learned and points of emphasis, I think, for everybody embarking on this.
Absolutely, and cannot stress the importance of the governance piece, right? It really helps you establish the foundations for success. And one of the key things that you talked about, Doug, is, how do we drive governance, cloud enablement, and all of those pieces, such as even cultural change, perhaps in parallel, versus doing them later, which can increase risk when it comes to execution. So thank you for sharing that. Absolutely. What were some of the major successes that your team delivered, and what were the top 2 or 3 KPIs that you measured across each area?
So there's 2 big ones that stand out. What we've done in clinical decisions, which is, as I mentioned, a smaller yet high growth and very important part of our future. That business now is completely cloud native. So every part of that business is running in AWS from top to bottom, and the KPIs we have there have been phenomenal. We've been able to partner in ways that were unavailable to us using the legacy approaches that we had. We're able to introduce new products rapidly, and we have Dynamic Health we started with, but then Dynamed, our product for physicians. And then we moved on to other products that have come out in quick succession. We've also integrated with Cerner and Epic, which puts our information services in the workflow of physicians and became HIPAA compliant. So these are just some of the real business impactful results of our investments in our transformation journey there. The other notable one, and I'm very pleased to say, is just very recent, in the past month, is our flagship information service called EBSCOhost, which may be familiar to some of our listeners and viewers here, is running now completely in AWS from top to bottom. And that's just the beginning, right? As we all know, we want to get to AWS. In our case, it was a significant amount of replatforming efforts. With now that we're in the environment, we're able to truly modernize and optimize in so many ways, performance, refactor code, cost-related optimization as well. and then full-on modernization. We have available to us now a whole suite of technologies that would have been impossible for us really to be able to introduce on-prem. So I would say that's it. And then as we look at metrics, we really like to embrace Adora metrics, which I'm sure are familiar to a lot of listeners here. Deployment frequency and mean time to changes are key in terms of velocity, measures of how fast and how agile are we. But we have to be able to balance that with safety. And that's where change failure rate, mean time to recover come in. And so for these 4 key metrics, I think do a great job of giving us signals and measures in terms of how what we're doing and serving our customers.
Absolutely, Doug. And, having that clarity around success criteria, translating the success criteria into metrics and KPIs that are directly linked with business objectives and outcomes we want to drive is incredibly important. So, such a wonderful story there. Thank you. Doug, what surprised you the most when it comes to engaging with the AWS teams?
So it's been, as I said, a really fruitful partnership, and I truly view it as a partnership. I'm in some ways kind of shocked. In my career, I've dealt with, a whole lot of partners and such. When Amazon AWS says they're customer obsessed, that's our experience. Is our account team is super high levels of talent, but they're very engaged. They're engaged in really being partners. They're able to bring in expertise as I described, but also as we, for example, transition EBSCOhost live, which has a whole lot of and a tremendous amount of usage. For example, there's just technologies, there's tuning, there's all kinds of things that our AWS account team, we're able to bring to bear to help us succeed. So they're very joined with us in our own business success, and in some ways they're stretching us a little, they're leading us a little bit because of some of the experiences they can bring and that they've had internally, but also by leveraging the experiences of their customers and that knowledge to us. So I would say it's truly walking the talk around customer obsession. We definitely see it. It's unique. And then being able to truly bring in the wider expertise, whether it's in the professional services realm, but even throughout AWS and even Amazon. For example, we've had access to leaders in Amazon who describe how they scaled and utilized AWS to grow their own business. So phenomenal partnership there.
That's fantastic. And absolutely, the AWS account teams dive deep with their customers. They work backwards to really ensure that they're achieving the business outcomes that the customers target to. And ATG is, definitely a vehicle that they've been using to ensure that linkage is super clear. Doug, one topic which is very important for our teams as we continue to transform, and personally for me as well, is inclusion, diversity, and equity. Specifically when it comes to driving gender equity in technology. What can you share with us around EBSCO's philosophy on ID&E, and what is your vision for your technology team?
So thanks for asking this. This is critically important to our company, and it's certainly within technology. And so I would say we're doing many, many things here. We've had several training sessions, if you will, workshops with the executive team, because I think, like so many things, the culture has to be right. There has to be top-level support. And so for us, it began there. We had CEO Tim Collins really bringing the group together. We had some outside consultants come in and really work with us on that, and that hasn't finished. We have still more of those sessions coming up. We've also sponsored and supported an employee resource group called Women at EIS. And I'm a co-executive sponsor of that, I'm proud to say. And we have about 400 active people in that. We sponsor guest speakers coming in. There's all kinds of workshops. There's also just leaders throughout the company engaging with that organization to help really, make sure that we're developing and creating an environment in which women, as you had asked about, are really have the same kind of sponsorship, mentorship opportunities within our company. We're also focused on talent acquisition because, as we know, a lot of it it's, you want to definitely work on creating equitable internal organization, but that also includes being able to source and hire and such. So we're doing a lot of work in our talent acquisition. We just hired a diversity specialist that her only job in terms of the recruiting efforts are in the diversity realm, with relationships with various different communities and colleges and universities. We're also looking at the way we post jobs and the language that we use, and so on and so forth. So we have an enormous amount of effort going on. And we mentioned equity. Equity is also in product. We've done a lot of work on our own products, EBSCOhost namely, where we're making sure that people from different backgrounds can still utilize our products and get the same kind of relevant results, that our products work for them and satisfy their needs as well as it does others. So this is a huge topic, but we're very committed as a company. And basically, it's the right thing to do. Talent we find everywhere, right? We want to make sure that we as an organization know how to and stay open to finding talent wherever it is, and then developing, making sure that we have an equitable company and organization to work in that's fair and gives everyone the professional development and professional advancement opportunities that are deserving.
Doug, thank you so much for your partnership, for sharing EBSCO's transformation journey with our audience today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Zara. Thank you. And thanks to the wider team.
Absolutely. AWS has helped hundreds of customers across the globe, and we continue to capture key best practices, prescriptive steps, and guidance in our approach to ensure customers can move fast and accelerate business outcomes. As Ryan mentioned, we have 2 programs that help customers with transformation. The Enterprise Transformation Program is a fast-paced engagement where our AWS teams rapidly moves you through transformation across all key domains. While the AWS Transformation Guide is an engagement where your AWS account team runs a maturity assessment, identifies key risk areas, and prioritizes key domains across an action plan to drive transformation in an iterative manner that suits your needs. If you are interested in finding out more about any of these programs, please contact your AWS account team or reach out to Ryan Seaman or myself. Our email addresses are on the slide. Thank you so much for joining.